the dial, turn it loud. Miami's pride, make us proud. Caneswear crew, you hear the crowd. Hurricanes ain't backing down. Every play, every score, raising bets and raising roar. Rocking orange, green galore. All for one and one for four. We got FTSN, taking names, win it again. Podcast fam, till the end. Tune in, now let's begin.
Yo, what's going on, Cane fans? It is your boy, Brad Tejeda. This is the Caneswear Daily Podcast, only on FTSN. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. As y'all know, we got a big opponent this upcoming weekend, Saturday, 12 o'clock at Hard Rock Stadium against the Duke Blue Devils. We got a loaded, packed show today. We are going to take a little side detour from this Duke-Miami matchup, and I got three special guests that will be joining me here in just a few. And I'd like to introduce them right now. We got our 2026 quarterback, leader of the 2026 class, Dereon Coleman, quarterback for Jones High School, who's been having a phenomenal year so far. He's got a big-time matchup again this upcoming weekend against Lake Region. Oh, no, you guys play Ocoee this week, right? You guys just beat Lake Region. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. And we also got his pops, Edward Coleman, as well. I had the pleasure of meeting both of these gentlemen at the Florida tailgate. It was good to chop it up with them. And as y'all know, if you haven't followed Dereon's success so far on and off the football field, his father, Edward, plays a huge part and role in everything Dereon's been able to do. And of course, last but not least, we got our guy, Coach Baylin Trujillo, big-time Miami Hurricane fan. And as y'all know, this guy has a great quarterback training over at Advanced Quarterback Training in Orlando, Florida. Trains some of the best quarterbacks out there in the country. And we got one with us today along with his pops. Fellas, thank y'all so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Always good to be here, man. Always good.
Yes, yes. Well, let's get started. Let's start right off the bat with Dereon. Obviously, you are the prize and joy of this 2026 class so far. Anyone that's been hiding under the rock under recruiting, you guys know that Dereon's been doing his thing on and off the football field. He's having a record, performing year his junior year. He's 8-0 as a football team. But personally, I mean, the young man's thrown for 77% completion rate, averaging 250 yards a game with 20 times, only 2 interceptions. I mean, you want to talk about the accuracy and just doing everything that needs to be done in order to will your team to victory, like we've been seeing with our guy Cam Ward at quarterback. Dereon, right off the bat, man, I dropped some great stats of what you've been doing on the field, man. What has been the help to some of your success going from your sophomore year to now your junior year this year?
Really just maturing off the field, taking care of the ball on the field, not doing dumb mistakes, not giving no turnovers.
I love it, man. And one of the things that I think is a huge similarity to you and Cam Ward, which I think you guys are two names that seem to be tossed around a lot with this Miami Hurricane fan base, not because what we're seeing with Cam Ward now, but we're looking into the future of what's going to be setting us up for, the next couple championships. And someone like yourself, I think it brings a lot to the table of not what you do on the football field, but the passion that you bring and just the knack of being a true ultimate competitor and winner. Your dad and Baylin as well has not shied away from just that is who you are. Very similar to who Cam Ward is as well. Just being a true competitor, right? What are some ways that you look to better yourself on and off the football field, or being that true competitive guy?
Really no competition with me. I don't think nobody can beat me on and off the field. I think I'm the best in everything I do.
And Pops, Edward, man, you've been able to obviously watch this young man and obviously help train him from the age of 4, from all the way from 4 to 9. And you talk about in other interviews just that hardworking training mentality and just always pushing Dereon to be the best, but also him making sure that he doesn't, set himself for limit expectations, right? He always wants to exceed of what it is brought to the table. What have you seen personally as a father and just watching Dereon grow throughout his years? What has just been the biggest thing that you've seen with him personally?
Personally, when he was younger, that was the goal. I pushed him and put him with some of the toughest competition. But like he just said, now I listen more to Dereon. But Dereon actually knows where he want to go, what he want to do. You know, the hard work was put in, but he's self-driven. You know, he's a quiet assassin, so to say. He don't back down from no competition. But the biggest maturity I've seen with him is off the field, like he said. Going through some things in life, and I see the way he handles that, and he can, push that to the side and still he can go compete at a camp. He can go play a game. He has matured a lot, and like I said, he got a strong circle. And one of the guys we can't leave out that's big in his circle, and that's Coach Elijah Williams. He's a extension of me. He's he's right there with him every day. He's talking to him. So Dereon matured a lot, and I like that off the field. That poise he have off the field. I see that same poise on Friday nights in camps, and that's what I'm more impressed with. Because you got all these years, you train a kid from the age of 4 years old. You expect to see a certain mechanic, but what he's showing me off the field, that's what I'm most impressed about.
And I think one thing that's been really impressive, just being able to watch Dereon do what he does on Friday, Thursday, Saturday nights. And to y'all's point, this plan that y'all have had in place since the age of 4 years old. I mean, a lot goes into that plan. I mean, it's not just Coach Will and obviously yourself, but then we also got our guy, Coach Baylin, as well, who's been doing just amazing things for not only your son, but other quarterbacks around the country, especially in Central Florida and Orlando area. Coach, we've talked off air plenty of times, and one of the things I like about you, man, is you don't really sugarcoat anything. You're who you are as a person, no matter who you're talking to, no matter the age group. And I think one thing that I think a lot of recruits like Dereon and others of what they're seeing from a guy like Mario Cristobal on the staff, of where they don't really sugarcoat anything. They're straight up and honest with you, and they're always the same person every single time you talk to them. I think a lot of that goes to you as well, and why someone like Dereon and even his father and Edward can have the relationship that they have with you, and the trust and the capability that you're able to bring to the table. Talk about just over the years and the growth that you've had personally as a quarterback trainer, and kind of seeing the implements of what you've been able to do and establish for guys like Dereon.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate, the kind words. And, I really work hard at what I do, and I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I do train like it. And I think Edward saw that in me early with Dereon in my first interactions with DC back when he was 10 years old at FBU All-American Camp. Containing and trying to control a kid like Dereon is not easy because of the arsenal he has in his arm. And he knows he's the best player on the field every time he goes in a training setting or a camp setting or even on the football field. He knows that. And obviously I found that out really fast with him, and him getting frustrated with me in a situation where he didn't do anything wrong other than bringing a football that, normally I would not recommend a kid throwing, but nothing that he did wrong. And he didn't understand what I was trying to do in the moment of me tossing his football after he made a perfect throw to me to the other side of the field and making him go get it. Trying to control this right here and seeing how he responded to it. And of course he came back, skipped the entire line and did the exact same thing and threw it even harder at me. And, after that moment, it was just like a match made in heaven. So I just, honestly want to thank God for the opportunity to be in that moment at that time, and be in the presence of Dereon at an early age. And then obviously Mr. Coleman trusting me with the development of his son, and him obviously seeing the attributes and the gift that he had that God gave him early, obviously as his father, and then trusting me with that. It's not easy. We've had long conversations, and he's been with several trainers, but through this whole entire process since he's been 10 years old, we've remained consistent in that. And he's trusted me from day one. Dereon has trusted me from day one. And it's just been amazing to see the growth over the last 7 years of where he is at today, obviously as a Miami Hurricanes commit. And so, my passion really drove from my father. My father was hard on me. He didn't understand the quarterback position. He played safety at UCF back in 88, 89. But I just saw the gift that he had naturally throwing a football and flag football tournaments as a kid. And I'm like, I want to do that. And so he did the best he could in training me as a kid, but that wasn't really a thing as I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s with trainers, specific trainers to a specific position. But, he instilled work ethic in me and hard work and what that looks like to not always go out and do what your friends think is cool or what you may think is cool. There's a time and place for everything, and setting standards and being able to, manage time and put effort into what you want to be great at. And my passion was obviously quarterback and football, and I played 3 sports and I focused on that. And, just learning how he treated me and never took it easy on me to the point where, I'm running to my mom, for some type of words of, affirmation, where he was never telling me good job. But then again, going after my whole college career and me and him sitting down, because I had to understand what his mindset was as I was going into my training business. And he always told me, why would I tell you what you did right when you already know that? You're out there showing your highlights. You're out there posting articles about yourself, and you're out there, bragging to our friends and family when we're together in settings. And I never had to do that because you did it plenty of yourself. So what am I here to do? I'm here to humble you and make sure you understand you're not exactly where you should be. You're probably where you want to be, but not where you should be. And it stuck out to me when he said that. And again, he's my best friend and I love him, but my dad really instilled that. So now as I'm training kids like Dereon and, the guys you're mentioning that are top in the country, I'm not easy on them. And honestly, I want you to quit. I want you to not like me. I want you to not like this position, because this is not easy. And Mr. Coleman knows that. Dereon obviously knows that. But that's how I train these guys. And if they stick it out, chances are they'll be living their dream like Dereon is as a Miami Hurricanes commit. But yeah, it's how I take pride in my work. It's why, I've kind of elevated myself, and I'm not even nowhere near where I want to be, honestly, as a trainer. And there's so much room for improvement. People say I'm the guru and all this. I hate that, because I'm always learning. My dad always said, the moment you stop learning is the day you're in the dirt. So you're always learning. You're always trying to get better at, what you're doing in your craft. And so I'm learning every day from other trainers and other professions in this. And I take pride in my work as well. And again, I'm just so happy where Dereon is today and being his trainer.
You brought up the word humble, right? And I think one thing that I've noticed with Dereon and again, Cam Ward, I'm going to bring up his name a bunch when we talk about Dereon, because I think there is a lot of similarities. And one thing with both of these young gentlemen is that it seems like whether, the ups and downs, it doesn't seem like both Cam and Dereon both hang their hat on the high achievements. They're more worried about the little things that I can do to improve, to get even better than the week before, right? And then one other thing that I feel like is just believing in yourself to where you set yourself apart from the rest. And I mean, to your point, Dereon, when I first asked you, you really do truly believe in yourself. And going back to this plan that your father, Coach Will and Baylin as well, had throughout this process of starting out at 4 years old, whether it was you making that move to Orlando or playing varsity as an 8th grader, and just these transitions and the abilities that you're having to be capable of doing the things that you're doing right now as a junior. This past weekend, you had the opportunity to see and hang out with Cam Ward after that Florida State win in the locker room. What was something that you got from that conversation with someone like Cam Ward that I feel like, me personally, and I think a lot of other fans, see a lot of similarities between the two of you?
I mean, it was really nothing I really got from the conversation. We just had a normal conversation, like we already knew each other. We just clicked immediately. That's how we have similarities with each other.
Now, Dereon, one of the things with you, right, is obviously when all this recruiting process first started, it was pretty much Oklahoma and everyone else. You really felt like Oklahoma was a school that you're like, hey, this is where I want to go. And then obviously other big-time programs started noticing what you bring to the table. And Miami ended up making that phone call. Throughout this recruiting process, obviously you've been committed to Miami, but doing what you've been doing on the high school level week in, week out, are schools still hitting you up on the daily basis? And what are kind of the things that you're telling those schools? And are you 100% just locked in with Miami?
Schools really don't hit me up no more. Ever since I had posted my commitment video, after they heard me say I'm fully committed and shutting down my recruitment, no schools haven't been hitting me up no more.
Now, Edward, what I want to ask you is, you talked in other interviews too as well, that from a young age, you really put Dereon in situations where you kind of bet on him, like not really with money, but like you put him in situations at a young age where it's like, hey man, it's time to prove me and the doubters wrong. I feel like you're capable of doing things. And he's continued to exceed those expectations. Starting at a young age, he started throwing a baseball, and that's kind of where it led to him being this amazing quarterback that he is today. where do you feel like some of the things that he could still improve on to this day, even though it seems like he's really doing a great job at everything on and off the football field?
For us, his game, there's always room for improvement. And I leave that up to his coach and Baylin. Going back to something that Baylin said earlier, about his dad. I was that dad too, but I had to learn. I had to humble myself so he can continue to soar, and and have that friendship with my son. See, because when you that type of dad and that push, sometimes you can push him away, and that came through my mom explaining to me on how to go. I wasn't just training Dereon, I was training his older brother also, but he had something extra, and she made me understand that I don't have to do all that yelling and screaming no more. I mean, one of the excitements I get now, I can go to the game and actually sit down and watch his game. I don't have to say nothing no more. Same way, with Baylin. And I told him, he got a lot of hours of training. So when you go out with Baylin, it's just y'all work out. It's a workout session. Him and Baylin cool. They hang like big brothers. All that other stuff for us, his game, I leave that up to Coach Will. I got a tremendous respect for this guy. I'm going to mention his name like 2 or 3 times already. So Will is taking him to that next level. And as a dad, I had to humble myself and sit back and, I did my job. Look how he turned out to be. He on all kind of stages. So I don't think I did a bad job with raising him. I'm still raising him, and that's my son. I'm not his coach. I'm just his daddy.
Yeah, you got to love that. And I think some of the things that you've been putting around him, along with Coach Will, yourself, and Baylin, it really translates to just the accountability of the true leadership and winner that Dereon brings on and off the football field. Coach Baylin, you had some great excitement this past weekend as well, bringing up with Dereon the Florida State game and him being able to chop it up with Cam Ward. But you got to have the opportunity of taking your son for the first time to a Miami Hurricane football game. Like myself, who's a big, passionate Hurricane fan, that opportunity when it strikes, it's something like none other, right? It's like being like watching a Disney movie ending, right? And I think you couldn't help but love to see the video of your son with Michael Irvin, man. Talk about that experience, getting to see the playmaker with your dad. And then I also want to go in depth with some of these other big time visits you've had at other programs with some of your other quarterbacks and how that atmosphere has kind of lived up to maybe the atmosphere you, Dereon, and others were able to experience against Florida State this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's so crazy. I'm going to be honest with you, man. Just talking about this plan that we just talked about and Coach Elijah Williams, I want to hit on that first. And yes, there are still coaches that hit me up. They don't hit up Dereon more so than me. Obviously, I'm the trainer, so they think that obviously to get to Dereon, they go through me. So there are coaches that still text me, communicate with me on a regular basis about Dereon and sending stats and stuff like that, and I ignore all of it. As me, as a true Canes fan, I'm locked in. Dereon is not going anywhere else. He's locked in with Miami. I make that very clear, and I let these coaches know when they see me in person, hey, what's up with Dereon? No, he's locked in with Miami. You see what I do. You see how I market Dereon. It's all about the U. So all the speculation, obviously, with what Dereon's doing and the amount of hype he's getting right now. He just set a school record this past Friday night. I know once I posted on Twitter, a lot of coaches had DM'd me about his film and stuff, and I just ignored all of it. So he is definitely locked in with Miami, and that's where we're going in the next year and a half in January of 26, and we will shut that conversation down. So and again, going back to this plan with Coach Will and going to how my son ends up at his first Hurricanes game this weekend, like Dereon. This plan is all destined by God. If you really take the landscape and the scope of Dereon and his whole entire, process of his development at a young age, the adversity he's gone through as a kid and to where he's gotten to now and to the actual where he is sitting at in some random parking lot in that car right now has always been a part of a big plan that God has literally put together. And it's not by accident that I was at that exact field at that exact time at that FBU tryout, which I've never done an FBU before, and I've not done another FBU event after. That was my only interaction with FBU, and it ended up me being with Dereon Coleman. So I knew that was God. And going back to Coach Elijah Williams, that was my head coach. I had transferred my senior year to Oak Ridge High School, where he became the first Oak Ridge head coach in his career at the high school as a head coach in Orlando. And I was his first ever quarterback, and he changed my life. He made one phone call, and that's how I ended up at the University of South Florida, as you see my jersey here. He changed my life. He mentored me. He was like my second dad. He taught me the game of football. He loved me like his own, and that changed my life. And so seeing how Dereon had progressed over his life, I had always made the comment to his father, hey, he's going to play under Elijah Williams one day. And no matter where that's going to be at that time, when I started training Dereon, he was still at Oak Ridge. I was like, he's going to play under Elijah Williams because I knew exactly what he did for me in my recruitment as a man, just understanding the game of football. And he did it the right way. He doesn't sugarcoat nothing like myself. He is a hard-nosed, no bull crap. He throws everything aside. He's not about, politics. It's the best man's going to play, and he does not care. You're going to do it his way or you're not playing at all. And so with that attitude, knowing the type of person Dereon is and how his dad had groomed him mentally to be like that, he was the perfect fit. And again, out of all the top elite quarterbacks that I trained, it was always Dereon Coleman going to play for Elijah Williams. He could have had his picking with really any of these guys because I try to send the top quarterbacks to play under him, regardless of where he's at. But again, you're looking at my top quarterback in the top corner right here, Dereon Coleman, and that's who he's playing for. And now he's setting records as an undefeated quarterback. He might give him his first undefeated ever season and ever, which is exciting for me because I knew this was going to happen for Dereon Coleman and for Coach Will. But again, that's why he's at Jones. Now going back to my son, again, I'm coming full circle here. That was Dereon Coleman's and Mr. Coleman's first time going to a Miami Hurricanes football game under obviously myself being his trainer, going and having the experience with him. Guess what? That was also my son's first ever experience. So that's not happening without Dereon Coleman and our situation here. So the fact that it's all coming together, it's Dereon's first game in Miami. It's my son's first game in Miami. It was literally like, I couldn't explain it, man. I'm getting goosebumps right now because of just the environment and how that whole thing played out. And I know Dereon had his own experience there. I know he's got some memories he's going to take with him. Mr. Coleman is as well. But for myself, looking at it from a big picture, I mean, literally on the car ride there, it was Dereon the entire way to the stadium. My son was saying Dereon, and he didn't believe it until he actually saw him in person. And literally, my son's face just lit up like a Christmas tree the moment he locked with Dereon, and he got to experience his commitment with Dereon. I brought him over to his house when he officially announced his commitment. So my son's been along the journey also with Dereon. So getting to see that moment with my son in Hard Rock as a recruit, because he had his own name tag, getting to experience all the glamour that Miami can offer at a game experience is something that I always will cherish. And then to top it off, we're waiting for Dereon to come out of the locker room with Cam Ward, and Michael Irvin walks out, and all this media attention's around us. I'm literally standing there with Mr. Coleman, and he literally just locks eyes with my son and goes right to him. I'm talking people are all around this place out of the locker room, and he goes right to my son and just starts playing with him. And I'm like, I couldn't even believe what was happening because I'm like, wait, I'm trying to link up with Cam Ward and Dereon and trying to call Dawson, and then Michael Irvin, the presence that he has is literally playing with my son in my wife's arms and making him laugh. And I'm just in awe at the moment because, again, this is his first time ever at a Miami game. And the only reason why we're even in that position is because we were late on the field. My son's literally running the entire football field while all the recruits are in the locker room, and he's just going crazy, and they're trying to capture him. He's trying to make people miss, and he's on the field. I grab him, and they're like, we got to go. I grab him. Everybody's already lined up. Dereon's already in the locker room. And I call Mr. Coleman, hey, where are you guys? He's literally standing right there in front of the locker room. As soon as I meet with him, here comes Michael Irvin on the timing, and that happens. And it's just like I said, everything is about God and timing and knowing Dereon's life and his story and how my son's now able to experience this. Dereon doesn't even realize, and I called him this morning on his way to school, the magnitude of the impact he has on my son, and he doesn't even understand it. Like, he's going through his own journey, but my son is literally looking up to Dereon as like his next role model, which I'm glad he is because I hope he has Dereon's arm talent. But again, that's God-given. But just the experience was amazing, man. And Michael Irvin, what an awesome dude. I have a whole different perspective. Obviously, I know he's a legend, and my son obviously doesn't know that yet, but he will one day when he sees that video. But just who he is as a person and kissing my son and loving on my son, he doesn't even know my son, was just a moment I'll always share. And Mr. Coleman's in that video. You see his facial expressions right behind Grayson, as he's probably in shock too, like what's going on. But incredible moment and something I'll always cherish.
Man, gotta love the timing of all that, man. And you talk about the cherish moments and opportunities you and your son had, and obviously you brought up Dereon and Edward's first time at the Hard Rock. I want to ask both of you, gentlemen, what did you take from the experience at Hard Rock Stadium? I know, there have been those, other opposing fans and in the past, especially on social media, that say, no one ever comes to games. It's never packed. I was there as well, and it was definitely, pretty close to a sold out crowd. In those first couple possessions, it was loud. It was crazy, especially when Mark Fletcher Jr. had that first touchdown. What was your thoughts on the game, the atmosphere, and kind of what you took from it, both Dereon and Edward?
I enjoyed the atmosphere. Like I said, it was packed. I enjoyed the lights going out. But I'm on the line of Baylin, man. I was taken away, and I'm finna say something that Dereon don't even know. I was trying to give him his space and just watch him in his moment. I was a proud dad. We was at the hurricane thing, and they set everything off. They laid out the red carpet, but he earned all that. He from the age of 4, he put in the work, and I just wanted to sit back and watch him. And he wouldn't even let me sit back and watch it. He was still gracing that little kid, Dad, come here, Dad, come here. And he was just so excited to be there. And I was just happy for him. Because you did this. I didn't do this. You got here off of your hard work. But seeing the crowd and how the fans was and how they showing my son love, I know, once he get there, he's gonna really enjoy it, and he can excel. I'm not even really talking about on the field. I already know what he can do on the field. But it's going to take everything else for him to be great. And I enjoyed the moment watching my son, just like Baylin was watching Grace. That was a father moment for me and the hard work he put in. Because, I'm proud of him. I don't tell him much. I'm proud of him. He earned it. He believed in me. And I always said he's going to become most dangerous when he start and when he realized how good he is. And now he's at that point, and he got the right people around him, to kind of, mold him. He's not cocky. He's a humble kid. He's a quiet kid. And when he's playing, he can get focused and locked in. And sometimes, your athletes with that kind of ability, it can get away from it. So having the right coach there to be able to say, hey, no, we don't do that over here. He got all the right pieces for him to be successful. But I really enjoyed the game. I really enjoy how Cam play. I love his poise and how he command his team, not just the offense, but the whole team. I really enjoy that, man.
Gotta love it. What about you, Dereon?
No, I really just enjoyed everything for real. Enjoyed the fans, how all the fans really knew me. They just kept coming up to me asking for pictures, just asking me how I'm doing, about the game that I had that Friday before the game. Just congratulating me on everything I had. Really, really enjoy how, like, everybody will always say Miami never has a packed stadium, but they just proved me wrong, packing out the whole stadium. Very loud, actually. Just really enjoyed the whole thing.
And to your point, and to your dad's as well, I mean, you are a young man that's pretty cool, calm, and collective. And earlier when I asked you about your experience with Cam Ward, I mean, most young men in your position, they would have had a lot more like excitement or like this kid in the candy shop. And you're like, you got like this Kobe Bryant demeanor to you, where it's like nothing really phases you. Like idols, doesn't matter the names of your jersey or the badge, whatever. It's like you're just a human, just like I am. And when I strap it up, I could be just as good as you, if not better. And I really like that about you. I want to ask you this. What is your why, whether it's on the football field or just how you carry yourself each and every day when you wake up? What is your why of Dereon Coleman? And then also, do you have any idols?
Really, my why is I just don't want to be a failure in life. I already made a name for myself. I just don't want to bring it down, keep it building it. So, like, I could be an idol of someone when I get older and they're looking. I would just want to be someone that someone's looking up to.
I love that. I love that. Now, obviously, you've got so much more room for improvement, even though you've been doing amazing things. I think one or two things with Coach Baylin Trujillo that I want to ask him is that some quarterback trainers, they train every quarterback as maybe at least at the beginning, or a legitimate process that you kind of lead into your training groups. You kind of train each quarterback the same way. Is there times where you almost have to throw in, a couple monkeys in the wrench for someone like Dereon because of his talent and athletic ability where he's just capable of so much more. Very similar to how Cam Ward gets trained, where he's just have these different arm angles to where just you really can't train every quarterback like that. So is there something that you've noticed, Baylin, when you have been training Dereon throughout the years, that you've been having to throw different things in the mix that you're really not used to doing, just because the limits of what Dereon is capable of is more than what you're used to?
Man, I love that question. That's actually the best question that I've probably been asked on any type of platform when it's talked about any of my elite guys. And I even mentioned this to Dereon when I went to Oklahoma with him. And they actually brought up the tape that I had just recently done the workout for. You know, there's fundamentals that I teach that I'm never going to go away from. I always teach the basic fundamentals of like drops and footworks and, you know, timing of route sequencing and stuff like that. That is always going to be the same. That should be, you know, universal. That should be, you know, perfected at a T. And that's the stuff that I build on the foundation of, you know, the quarterback position, because I'm a believer in good feet equals good ball. I'm not really a mechanical guy. Obviously, if I see something drastic, I'm going to just make changes, and I'll do like homework for kids to do at home, whether it's, you know, standing different positions on a tree, putting your arm in the L position. But, you know, I always teach the fundamentals and then I build from that. But when you look at Dereon, and if people really understand and watch what I do in my trainings, and I specifically put out videos of these kids in elite workouts, Dereon's workout and training videos is completely different than what you're going to see with these other guys, because he can do things that these guys can't. He has the fast twitch. A lot of these guys don't have that twitch. He has the crazy explosive arm angles where he can really be accurate on and off platform. These guys really have to be in sync with their bodies to make those type of throws look easy, where Dereon, that's just natural for him. So when you look at my workout videos, there are people take the time to really see Dereon's training videos, especially as he's developed. Again, especially the last one that we did, it's a whole different caliber of talent that he can do with his body than a lot of these other guys that are more bigger and more, you know, pocket present guys. Whereas Dereon he's the same way, but he's got that athletic, you know, dual threat capabilities where he can do things on with his feet and on the run that a lot of these guys can't do naturally. So yeah, Dereon is like I said, in a whole different caliber when it comes to this type of work. Obviously, he has the same fundamentals as guys like Brady and Noah, who are top 10 in the country in his class. But Dereon just brings something so much different, and he has the makeup and the build mentally from what he's dealt with outside of just the game that has literally shaped him into a guy you cannot physically and mentally beat, because he's so strong here. And that's because of the things he's had to go through in his life and the adversity that people don't even understand and know about until you really know him, which won't really get out there because there's no reason for it, because it's just shaped him and who he is, and that chip that he has on his shoulder where he believes wherever he goes, there's not a single person that has dealt with the things that he's done with, or the things that he's competed with in his whole entire life, that there's not a person out there that can out-throw him, out mental toughness him, out physically abuse him. It's just not going to happen, because he's just that alpha. Like, I love the post that he made with Cam Ward, because the presence and the aura that these two kids have when you're in their presence is the alpha aura. Like, there's just something different about them, and people only will understand that when they see Dereon in person. And that's why I get excited, because a lot of these rankings or sites, they've never seen Dereon in person. So they just go by measurables or, you know, what opinions people have online and under different, you know, chat groups. But when you see this kid in person, there's no other way to say but like, oh my gosh, this kid is exactly who he is, and why he's committed to Miami, and why he has over 20 offers, and why he was ranked top 5 as a dual threat with split time last year with another guy who was a top 10 quarterback in the country. So like, there's just so many things to him that has built him to be who he is, and why I'm able to do extra things in my training to make him just that much better. But again, that's God's gift. He'll say that there's not really much we can do outside of what God has blessed him with. We can just fine tool some things. And like Mr. Coleman said, it's not really training, because when you're training, you're trying to improve something. Obviously, you want to get improvement in areas, but we're just working out now. We're just fine-tuning the skills that he has already trained to become, and now we're just fine-tuning that, and now we're working on the mental game with Coach Will and learning how to break down film, stuff like that. So making the game slow, which is what he does already. So it's just exciting to see that kid. And again, he's humble, because I have to text him to tweet my stuff about record-setting night, because he just won't do it, because he'd rather somebody find that out on themselves rather than what he wants to post, which, again, that's an awesome trait. to have, but at the same time, he deserves what he's getting, like Mr. Coleman said, because of the work that he's put in and the things that he has to battle on a daily basis that a lot of these kids aren't built for. And my last point here about training, Mr. Coleman did a great job of really setting Dereon up with my private workouts with my college kids growing up. That has now shaped him to be the best. He was already better than a lot of these college guys were when he was 12, 13, 14 years old. I mean, like I said, the names of DeAndre Francois and Cameron Ransom and guys like that, just he was able to see these starting quarterbacks in college and literally outcompete those guys in my settings without really saying much as a 13 or 12, 13, 14-year-old. I mean, stuff that I've never seen before, which is why I can literally tell you and everybody that he's the best arm talent I've ever trained, and it's not even close.
Before I get you fellas out of here, Dereon, you obviously being humble and being a great leader, you're obviously you're a good teammate as well. I follow recruiting a lot, and I think the impact that you bring to the table, not only for your teammates, but the competitors that play against you. Even though you guys are competing on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, I think to your father and Baylin's point, and anyone that gets to have the opportunity of talking to you and knowing how you are as a competitor, people respect you. And I think that goes a long way, not only for you personally and what you've been able to accomplish, but for your teammates and for the competitors that were possibly helping trying to recruit in this 2026 class along with yourself. And before we let you go, your Jones High School football team is on a great start right now, 8-0. You guys play a Coe at 7 o'clock this Friday, and you got two teammates in particular at wide receiver position that Miami's been in contact with, and obviously you're good friends with. Vernell Brown, obviously wide receiver for this 2025 class, and 2026 class, Larry Miles as well, who's been doing a lot of great things. Talk to me about those two individuals in particular, and just being a great teammate and what you've been able to bring to the table, not only help your teammates, but also the impact that you're bringing from a recruiting aspect for this 2026 class on some of these guys that you compete with.
I mean, there's so much you could say about both of them, but I mean, I could really just brag on them boys all day long. They're really my brothers. You just speak. I can speak highly about both of them. There's nothing to really say about them. You just got to know them. I know how they are. Both great football players, great brothers, great student athletes. You just got to get to know them on your own.
Now, Dereon, before I let you, your dad, and Baylin go, there's always, especially, in high school or you look at the end of your senior year and there's always that quote under your picture, right? Or when someone passes away, that thing on their grave, or just what you want to be remembered by. When it's all said and done, when you leave Jones High School, you're going to be breaking records, obviously, hopefully to be a state championship over at Jones as well. But when it's all said and done, when people close that yearbook and they get to go back and look at what Dereon Coleman has meant for Jones High School and just you as a person, what do you want people to know about you or leave as far as a legacy?
First, I want people to know that I was a student athlete first. I always had good grades out of school. I was always a good student to all the counselors, the teachers, and all. Secondly, I love for everybody to know that I'm going to be the first quarterback to ever win a state championship at Jones. First to win a ring. So, yeah, really, that's really all.
You heard him.
Everything he said has happened, so that would be massive for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, it was a pleasure talking to all three of y'all, and I wish nothing but success for all three of y'all, which I know is going to happen. Dereon, Edward, y'all continue to do great things on and off the football field. Baylin, you do what you do best, man, and train up these quarterbacks and continue to be a monumental success for these kids on and off the football field, especially what you're doing on these Zoom calls, getting closer to God as well. So shout out to you for that. Any last word for any three of y'all before we get you out of here?
Oh, sir, I'm good.
Yeah,
the
last words was, I did it.
Hey, I did it. I like it.
I did it. That's what I wanted to say up under my son post. I did it. And that's everything, not just football. I did it. I graduated. I got a state championship. I did it when they said I couldn't. That's what I wanted to say.
Baylin, anything for you before we get y'all out of here?
No, just go Canes, and just appreciate you and your time with us. And man, if you guys don't know anything about Dereon, start doing your research, because the next Cam Ward is not coming. It's going to be the next Dereon Coleman is coming to the U. So let's start building that, because this is a whole different breed right here, and I think he's going to do massive things for the University of Miami.
Absolutely agree, man. Like I said before, thank y'all so much for joining the show. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Brad Tejeda, host of the Caneswear Daily Podcast. We're out.